If you have found that you enjoy these videos about music and video games, but some of the music theory stuff goes over your head, don't worry. This will be a new series that discusses specific music theory concepts that get mentioned. If you love music, but maybe haven't had as much formal training, or even if you have but it's been a while, hopefully this will help to understand some of the things that get brought up in other Gaming Bard videos. Let's start with a brief discussion of fundamentals. In English-speaking countries, music uses the same alphabet as the language, except that it stops at G. Well, it doesn't stop at G, it actually starts over after G, so we end up with 7 distinct notes that extend infinitely in either direction. When it comes to notation, we think of these notes as being linear, either ascending or descending. To help them relate to each other visually, we position them on a set of lines and spaces called a staff. This staff traditionally has 5 lines and 4 spaces, and any notes that don't fit onto it get an honorary line called a ledger line. Otherwise, they would just float away. Where the notes appear on the staff is determined by the clef. Different clefs signify where certain notes are, and the others fit in around it. The most familiar clef is the treble clef, which shows where G is on the second line. Another familiar clef is the bass clef, which shows where F is on the 4th line. Other clefs exist that move notes in other places, but these two are the most common, as together they make what is called a grand staff, and we see this mostly used in piano music. An important function of the clefs is to tell the difference between notes. Although the letters are the same, the pitches are different. Notes on the bass clef sound lower than notes on the treble clef. This C and this C and this C all have the same name, but this one is much higher than this one. Confusing, right? That's why there's a system called octave designation, which assigns a number to each note so that we know how low or high it is. There are 3 main components of music: pitch, rhythm, and harmony. So far, we've talked about pitch. Let's dive into rhythm. If we're going to play or sing this series of notes, it would be impossible to determine how much time to spend on each one. Good news, there's a system for that. In our most common system of rhythm, we work in powers of 2. Now this might sound like a lot of math is coming up, but bear with me. Consider a pie. Right now you have the whole pie. If I make 1 slice, you have 2 halves. Divided equally again, 4 quarters. Again, 8/8, etc. Now, instead of a pie, let's take a note, the whole note. That's what it's called. If we divide it equally, we get 2 half notes. Divide again, 4 quarter notes. Again, 8/8 notes, etc. These note values tell us the duration of the note we're looking at. If a whole note lasts 4 seconds, a half note would last 2 seconds, a quarter note would last 1 second, and so on. When we pair up these note values with the pitches, we start to have enough information to begin making music. The third part of music is harmony. This has the most potential to get very complicated very quickly, so there will be another video dealing more with harmony. For now, it will suffice to understand that what we've seen so far is melody, 1 note at a time in succession. Harmony happens when 2 or more notes occur simultaneously. When you put 3 or more notes together, you get a chord. You can stack a lot of notes at once, but for now, let's look at a 3-note chord, or triad. The 2 types of chords we hear most often are major and minor. What makes the chord major or minor is a topic for another video, but you can probably hear the difference. The difference between major and minor chords is often described as happy versus sad. Chords can exist either in a supportive role, where we may have a melody with a harmony, or on their own, which would sound more like a chorale or church hymn. By combining these aspects of melody, rhythm, and harmony, we can start to make sense of how music is put together and what we are looking at on the page. There is obviously much more involved in each of these 3 aspects, so watch for other videos that will address for more in-depth issues of melody, rhythm, and harmony. See you next time.